Shohei Ohtani getting hit by a pitch looks like a flashpoint. Dodger Stadium erupts. Fans are furious. The assumption comes quickly that can't be accidental, but in reality, this moment wasn't about intent. It was about risk and how quickly it can spiral when execution slips by just a few inches. Because in this case, the pitch didn't just hit Ohtani. It exposed the razor-thin margin pitchers are operating within when facing him. Early in the game against the Mets, everything is routine. David Peterson gets ahead in the count 0-2. That's exactly where you want to be against a hitter like Ohtani. You've established control, you've limited options, you're dictating the at-bat. Then the pitch comes in, a 94 miles-per-hour sinker running inside. Too far inside. It hits Ohtani on the shoulder, immediate reaction. Crowd noise spikes, frustration builds. Ohtani takes first base, eventually scores. Game moves on, but the moment lingers. The obvious narrative is emotional. Fans see the best player in the world get hit and assume intent, especially given the context. Ohtani had homered in back-to-back leadoff at-bats in the previous 2 games. He was hot. He was dangerous. So the idea forms, why not neutralize him physically? But that logic breaks down under closer inspection. Peterson was ahead 0-2. That's the most controlled position a pitcher can have. There's no incentive to hit the batter. No strategic gain, no leverage benefit. If anything, it's the worst possible outcome. You give Ohtani a free base and reset the lineup. So if it's not intentional, what is it? Execution failure under pressure, and more specifically, targeting risk gone wrong. Here's the deeper layer. When pitchers get ahead 0-2 against elite hitters, they rarely throw strikes. They expand the zone. They go just off the edge, just inside, just outside. The goal isn't contact, it's discomfort. Against Ohtani, that margin becomes even tighter. Because if you miss over the plate, he can end the at-bat instantly. So Peterson likely aimed for a controlled inside miss, a pitch close enough to threaten, but not close enough to hit. That's a difficult throw, because sinkers don't stay straight. They run, they dip, they move late, and if your release point is even slightly off, if your timing is just a fraction early or late, that pitch doesn't miss inside. It crashes inside. That's exactly what happened. This wasn't a bad idea. It was a good idea executed imperfectly. And against a hitter like Ohtani, imperfect execution is amplified. Here's the hidden factor most people overlook. Pitching inside to Ohtani is becoming increasingly necessary and increasingly dangerous because his plate coverage forces pitchers to challenge him in areas they'd rather avoid. You can't live on the outer half forever. He'll adjust. So you have to come inside. But doing that repeatedly increases the probability of mistakes like this. Not intentional, inevitable over time. That's the trade-off. And it's only going to become more frequent the hotter he gets. Now, the turning point in this moment isn't the pitch itself. It's what happens immediately after. Ohtani doesn't escalate. He doesn't react emotionally beyond the initial frustration. He takes the base, resets, scores. That matters because it prevents the game from shifting into something else. Retaliation, warnings, loss of control. Instead, the Dodgers maintain structure. They keep the inning clean, and that's how they build their lead. While the crowd reacts emotionally, the team responds systematically. That's the separation. For the Mets, this moment reveals something more concerning than a hit by pitch. It shows how narrow their execution window is against elite hitters. They did everything right in the count. They got ahead, they forced a defensive position, and still, the at-bat ends with Ohtani on base. That's deflating for a pitcher because it reinforces a difficult truth. Against players like Ohtani, you don't just need the right plan. You need perfect execution of that plan, and perfection isn't sustainable. For the Dodgers, this is where their advantage compounds. They don't rely on one outcome. Even when Ohtani doesn't get a hit, he influences the game. He draws attention. He forces high-risk pitches. He creates pressure that carries into the next at-bat. That's exactly what happened here. Ohtani reaches, the lineup turns over, the Dodgers build a 4-0 lead, no highlight swing needed, just presence. That's the bigger picture. Moments like this feel dramatic, but they're actually structural. They show how the game bends around certain players, not through dominance alone, but through the pressure they create on every pitch. In the end, this wasn't a message from the Mets. It wasn't retaliation. It wasn't strategy gone rogue. It was a reminder that when you're pitching to Shohei Ohtani, you're operating in a space where A 1-inch mistake doesn't just miss the zone, it changes the entire at-bat. And sometimes it hits the most dangerous player in the sport. It happened in an instant, and the reaction was louder than the pitch itself. Because when Shohei Ohtani got hit, Dodger Stadium didn't just react, it erupted. Top of the first plate appearance, 2 strikes already on him, and then a 94-mile-per-hour sinker from David Peterson rides inside too far inside. It drills Ohtani in the shoulder, immediate tension, no hesitation. Fans weren't confused, they were furious. Because this isn't just any hitter taking a pitch. This is the face of baseball, the engine behind the Los Angeles Dodgers. And for a split second, everything felt at risk. That's the hook. Because context matters. Ohtani came into this game hot, not just productive, dangerous. Back-to-back leadoff home runs over the weekend against the Texas Rangers. Setting the tone, jump-starting games, controlling momentum from the very first pitch. So when he steps in against the New York Mets, there's already pressure. Pitch carefully or pay for it. Peterson got ahead 0-2. That's control. That's advantage. There is no reason to miss that badly. And that's exactly why the moment exploded. Because from the outside, it didn't look like strategy. It looked reckless. Now the tension builds. Ohtani doesn't charge the mound. He doesn't escalate. But the body language says enough. He felt it. And the crowd felt it even more. Every movement, every stare, every step to first base carried weight. Because in today's game, protecting stars isn't optional, especially not one like this. Here's the turning point. The Dodgers didn't respond with anger. They responded with control. Ohtani stays in, shakes it off, eventually scores, and the lineup takes over. Runs build, pressure flips. By the middle innings, it's 4-0 Dodgers. That's how you answer. Not with retaliation, but with dominance. Still, the question lingers. Was it intentional? Probably not. Peterson had the count. No incentive to hit him. Most likely it was a missed spot, a pitch meant to jam, not injure. But that doesn't erase the moment. Because when it's Ohtani, accidents don't feel small. They feel dangerous. That's the impact. For the Dodgers, it's a reminder of how thin the margin is. One pitch can shift everything. For opponents, it's a warning. You can challenge him, you can attack him, but you can't lose control. Because when you do, and he goes down, the reaction isn't just from the dugout, it's from the entire sport. And for Ohtani, it's just another test, another moment where everything tightens and he has to decide how to respond. No retaliation, no chaos, just getting back up and letting the game tilt his way anyway. One pitch, one mistake, one spark that lit up an entire stadium. Because when Shohei Ohtani gets hit, everyone feels it.